Good evening and welcome to True Dougman Encounters. I'm your host, Marvin Allen. If you or anybody that you've known have had a sight no encounter and would like to share it, my show, then please contact me. I would love to hear from you. Don't forget to like, comment, and share. Like, comment, and subscribe. As you all know, I just posted something on the Facebook page asking anyone if they have had an encounter and would like to come on the show and share it. So if any of you out there would like to do that, then please leave me a comment on the Facebook page group. But as you know, I'm going to try to push out many encounters as I can on my YouTube channel because this is my calling. This is what I do best. Despite what other people say or whatever people think. There's no one that's going to tell it like I tell it. There's no one that's going to do it like I do it. I'm grateful and I love each and every person who has contacted me or who I have came across and shared their encounters, their experiences with me. As you all know, I uploaded an encounter the other day with my eyewitness. But the thing about that is, that's not all. So I will be uploading the rest of her encounters. So get ready for that because it gets better. Oh man, it's a lot I could sit here and talk about. It's just I'm baffled when it comes to this Doug man situation. Trying to find out what this creature is, and it seemed like you would be beating yourself upside the head trying to find out something. Maybe maybe it's not meant for us to find out what this thing is right now. You know, but to some people, they already got the answer. To some people, they already know what it is. To some people, they already know where this creature come from. To some people, they already know where this creature lives and all that. But to me, I'll leave them pages of the book blank because I don't know. Still searching to find out all those answers to the questions. But we're going to get there. It's going to take time, but we're going to get there. And like I said, though, y'all let me know in comments what other encounters that y'all would like to hear from any other cryptid. Just leave me a comment, and let's get it in. As you all know, anonymity means a lot to me, and I breaks that for no one. So without further ado, let's jump right into this encounter. Now, this encounter right here comes from my eyewitness who does a lot of traveling, She does a lot of traveling, going to different states and, camping out and hiking and stuff like this. This is something that she's been doing for the past few years. And in the beginning, she said that it was great, but that was all about to change. My witness said that she went to this state down south. The state is, going towards down south. She went to this state, you know, check out the sceneries. She never been there before, and this was on her bucket list. So she goes there, find some nice parks where she could, walk around and do this and do that. So one day, she goes and she parks and she goes on a little hike. She goes on a little hike. She's walking. She hears, nature. She hears the birds and all those things. She see deers and stuff like that and raccoons. So as she's walking, she says she noticed that it got real quiet fast. Like 1 minute she see these animals and then the next, poof, they gone. The noise, it drops to nothing. So she continues to walk. But now she say she got an uneasy feeling that something else is around her and is watching her. She said she don't know why, but she had this feeling. So something told her, she said something told her to turn around and, and head back to get in your car. So that's what she do. She heads back on the same trail to get back to her car. Now, mind you, as she's walking, it's still silent. So she continued to walk, heading back to her car. And as she's walking, boom, she said something was thrown at her in her direction. And it was a rock. She turned and she looked behind her. She scanned left to right. She seen nothing, so she picked up her pace. She kept on walking. She finally gets to the edge of this tree line. So she goes out, she starts to walk, and she heading back to her car. She goes, she gets in her car, and she sits down. She don't do nothing else. She don't start it or nothing. She just sit down. And she looks over at that wood line. And when she look over there at that wood line, she can see a dark silhouette moving from tree to tree, fast. She said this thing was fast, faster than anything she ever seen in her life. It's moving from tree to tree. She starts her car, drive, continue to pull out, drive, continue to go down the main road that leads out. So as she's driving, something or someone was running just inside the tree line, keeping up with her. She said she never seen nothing like this in her life. She said this thing or whatever it was actually keeping up with her. When she would slow down, it would slow down. When she would speed up, it would speed up. So she continued to drive. And this thing inside the wood line, it would continue to follow her. So she finally goes round this curve and then back on the straight path that leads out. When she get ready to leads out of it, she said that's when this thing stopped. And she continued to go, and she found a place where she could park at and sleep. So that's what she did. She said around 3:30, she said it was after 3. She said sometime after 3, close to 3:30, she had to use the bathroom. So she sets up. She looks around. She don't see nothing, nobody. And she was parked over there at one of these rest stops, like a truck rest stop. But she said she was the only one there. So she gets out. She opens her door. She leaves it open. And she stands right there and she does her business. As she's doing that, about 20 to 25 yards is this tree line. And it goes around. It goes around the store, the business. It goes around there. So she said about 20 to 25 yards. She not good with distance, but she just threw it out there. It's the tree line. So as she's taking care of her business, she hears something. Crack, crunch, crack, crunch. She hears something walking in the tree line, in the distance. But she don't see nothing. So she hurried up, wiped herself, put her clothes, got back in her car, locked all the doors, made sure the windows was up. She sat there and she looked over there. She let down her window a little bit. She let it down. She could hear those sounds again. Crack, crunch, crack. She hears something walking bipedal inside the tree line. So now she's thinking to herself, what is it? Is it somebody out here that's late? Is somebody stalking me? This is what she's thinking and what's going through her head. So she continued to look. And just inside the tree line, like before you go inside the tree line, coming back towards the business and all that, it's lit up around there. So if you come out the tree line, she said, you could make something out. So she's sitting there and she's looking. And as she's sitting there and looking, she see something comes out this wood line on all fours. She said this thing was massive. The first thing popped in her head was, this is a big wolf. That's what she thought it was, but then she got to think, it's no wolves here. And this thing is really, really too big. She said the thing on, the head on this thing was just gigantic. It made 4 Doug heads. That's how big and how large it was. So it continued to walk out on all 4s. Then it stopped and it stared over there in her direction. she could see those bright yellow greenish eyes. They just glowing. And it's watching her. And she's watching it. Then she said, she say to herself, what the is that? They got to be the biggest wolf or dog and I ever seen or in the world. She said, but this, it was funny. She said, because by the back of it, where the back was set up, she said that was like a hump. She said the upper part set up high, where the legs was, because that's what she thinking, legs. And then the back, it tapered off. It was more smaller, more leaner. So she was saying to herself, what kind of dog or wolf is this? After a few seconds, this thing begins to walk. And when it started walking, it walked it straight, like it was going towards the business. And then it stopped. It stopped. And then it turned and it faced her. She sat there watching this thing, terrified, scared, don't know what to do, by herself. She said this thing just watched her. And she said for some reason, she couldn't stop looking at this thing. No matter how hard she tried, she couldn't stop looking at this creature. She said after about a minute or two, after it got there facing her, it turns and it goes back into the tree line. Now she's scared and she's terrified. She don't know what to do because she don't know what she saw. She's scared to pull off and leave because there's no one else around. She don't want to be on the road alone and this thing attack her. So she said she just sat there. She didn't see it no more. You know, an hour would pass. Then another hour. Then she said she noticed she was getting sleepy and tired. She made sure her doors and windows, everything was locked. Windows up. Pulled the chair back a little bit. Leaned back a little bit. She said she fell asleep. No matter how hard she tried to stay up, she fell asleep. She said she was tired. She said after about an hour and a half, something woke her. And when she opened her eyes, because she's still half sleepy, she opened her eyes and she could hear something sniffing. She could hear something sniffing. So she rubbed her eyes. She sets up. She looked to her left, out her window. And that's when she saw the most ferocious thing she ever seen in her life. She said when she looked, this thing continued to sniff. Then it looked up at her. She said this thing head was so massive that it took up the whole window. and it looked at her. And she said it's like it snarled at her, but it didn't make a sound, like it showed its teeth. She just watching this thing, and now this thing is watching her. That's when she said this thing lift up what she said was a hand. Not a paw, a hand. Lift it up. Put its claws on the window. Just the claws. And it began to bring them down slow. Slow, like it knew what it was doing. Then as it went down, it tried to open her door. And when it did that, she was like, oh my, and she caught herself. Tried to open her door. Then it walked around on all fours and it tried the other door. It's locked. It looked through that window at her. And when it looked through that window at her this time, it growled. She said like this thing was mad. She said that's when it took its hand and it put it on top of the hood, the roof. And it began to stand. It began to stand up bipedal on its hind legs. She said that thing was so tall and huge, she never seen nothing that big in her life. It stood up. And then it began to walk around to the front. And it stand there. And it leans down and over and it looks right into her eyes. She said the thing on this creature, the head was massive. Long, pointy, thick snout. Pointed ears. Shoulders, long arms with hands and claws. And it had the legs on them was just the thighs. She said the thing had thighs and they was just thick. So you could see the muscle definition in this creature. It stood there, watched her. That's when it placed its hands on the front, like the grill part, and it started to rock her car. Now she real scared. Now she don't know what to do. She started beeping her horn. Beep, 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 beep. Beep, beep, beep. She said that's when this creature was... She said this thing made a noise though she never heard in her life. Like this horn irritated or something. And it rocked it again, more vigorously. She stopped, stood up, walked around to her side again, and started to lean down and look in her window. And it showed its teeth again. Then it stood back up, it turned, and it walked back into the tree line. She didn't go back to sleep, she stayed up. She stayed up, soon as daylight hit, she left. She left. She thought that this would be the last time she would see something like this. But it wasn't. She finds another area. And she parks. This time, she said it's about 2 in the afternoon when she started. She parks, she goes, find a trail, and she continued to walk. She walks in. She can hear all nature. And she walking, walking. Time would pass. 3, 4, 5, 6. Say when they get around 6, she turns around and she starts to head back. Same trail. So as she walking, she heading back on the same trail. Still can hear animals, insects, and all that. So as she's walking, that sound starts to deteriorate. Nothing. Couldn't hear nothing again. So she started to walk fast. Because now she knows something wrong. Now she got that feeling that something is watching her. So as she's walking, and she's walking, faster than what she usually walk, she hears something. Doom! Like something jumped. And when it did that, it made her stop. She looked around, but she didn't see anything. She continued to walk again. Now, she hears something to her right, walking with her. So she walked. Then she stopped. This thing stopped. She looked back over to her right again. And when she looked back over to her right this time, she see the head of this creature peeking from behind a tree. So now she know this thing is following her. Is it the same one or is it a different one? She don't know. So she continued to walk. Same thing. This creature began to walk, keeping up with her. She said now she not that far until she make it to the beginning of this trail and out. So she walking, this thing is still walking, keeping up with her. So she make it to the edge. She leaves out. She walk towards her car. She keep looking back though as she walking. And she said as she got about 20 feet to her car, she looks back and she see that creature standing right there at the beginning of that tree line. She hurry up, gets to her car. She gets there, gets in, and she starts it up. She said that's when this creature dropped down to all fours and it started to run real fast. And then it stopped. It started to run real fast on all fours and then stopped. Now, mind you, her car's still running. She put it in drive. She continued to pull out. She drive. Now, mind you, this creature is to the right. So she said it was about 10 to 15 yards from her. So she pulls out, she driving. It's like she said when she went past this creature, it was like a tunnel vision. It's like everything just slowed down. And she went on and drove past it. As she drove past it, she looked in her mirrors. And she could still see it right there. That's when she said this creature turned and it started walking at first. She said she started to speed up. She said when it did that, this creature speeded up. So she said she speeded up even more, just driving, trying to get out there. See, that's when this creature speeded up too. When it speeded up, it made it to the side of her driver's side door. No, the passenger side door. And it turned and it looked at her. She could see it out her corner of her eye. It looked at her, but it's keeping up with her at the same time. It's doing both.